gonna look and see how we're doing. 9:17. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Why don't we get started? I'll see what the rabbi says. So why don't we get started? Page 103. Again, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. Please rise for Birchot HaShachar. Page 103. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol zarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotein layaev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
May be seated.
Utnenu hayom uvechol yom lechenu lechesed ulerachamim be'einecha uve'einei chol roenu v'tigmelenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim li'amo Yisrael. Page 105. Olam yehei adam yirei shemayim baseter uvagalu. On page 106 at the carrot. Ashreinu ma tov chelkenu, uma na'im goralenu, uma yafa yerushatenu. Ashreinu shanachnu mashkimim, uma arivim erev avoker, v'yomrim pa'amayim b'chol yom. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Kadesh et Shimcha al makdishei shemecha, ve'kadesh et Shimcha bi'olamecha, u'vishuatecha tarim v'tagbiha karnenu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh et Shimcha barabim. Pages 107 through 109. Choose a rabbinic text for individual study. On page 110 at the first red arrow. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu velohei avotenu shetiten chelkenu betoratecha v'nihiyeh mitalmidav shel Aharon hakohen ohev shalom v'rodef shalom ohev et habriot umekarvan la Torah. Page 112, Psalm for Shabbat. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Shebo Hayu Halvi'im Omrim Beveit HaMikdash, Mizmor Shir Le Yom HaShabbat. Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Vera'ananim Yehiyu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Velo Avlata Bo. Page 120, Psalm of David. Mizmor Shir Chanukat Habayit LeDavid. Hafachta mispedi lemacholi, pitachta saki vataz reini simcha, lema'an yezamercha chavod velo yidom, Adonai Elohai leolam odecha. Page 121, Mourner's Kaddish. Let's do the last two lines. You may rise if you'd like. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imramav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Page 102, Baruch She'amar. Please rise. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reishit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch gozer umkayem, Baruch merachem al ha'aretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch meshalem sachar tov lireav, Baruch hay la'ad v'kayam la'netzach, Baruch podeh umatzil, Baruch hu Baruch Shemo. Yachid Chei Haolamim, Melech Meshubach, Umfa'ar Adei Ad Shemo Hagadol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech Mechulal Batish Bachot. You may be seated. Page 136, Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yahalucha Sela, Ashrei Hamshechacha Lo, Ashrei Ha'am Shedonai Elohav Tihila LeDavid. Tihilat Adonai Yedaber Pi Vivrech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Leolam Vaed Vanachnu Nevarech Yamei Atav Yad Olam. Hallelujah. Page 137. Hallelujah. Halleli Nafshi et Adonai. Adonai shomer et gerim, yatom v'almana ye'oded, v'derech rishaim ye'avet, yimloch Adonai leolam Elohayach Tzion ledor vador. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ki tov zamra Eloheinu, ki na'im nava tehillah. Page 138. Magi devarav leYaakov, chukav umishpatav leYisrael, lo asachein lechol goy, umishpatim bal yedaum. Hallelujah. 139. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Et Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah bamromim. Vayarem keren le'amo tehila lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah. Page 140. Hallelujah. Shiru ladonai shir chadash tehilato bichal chasidim. Lesur malchehem bezikim v'nichbedehem bechavle varzel, lasot bahem mishpat katuv, hadarhu lechol chasidav. Hallelujah. 141. Hallelujah. Hallelujah el bekodsho. Hallelujah birkiauzo. Hallelujah vigvurotav. Hallelujah kerov gudlo. Hallelujah beteka shofar, hallelujah benevel vechinur, hallelujah betofu machol, hallelujah beminim veugav, hallelujah betziltzalei shama, hallelujah betziltzalei trua, kol hanchama tehalelia, hallelujah, kol hanchama tehalelia, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai le'olam amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion shochen Yerushalayim. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim, Elohei Yisrael, oseh niflaot levado. Uvaruch Shem kevodo le'olam, v'yimale kevodo et kol ha'aretz. Amen v'amen. Page 142, please rise. Vayavarech David et Adonai le'nei kol ha'kahal vayomer David. Ata hu Adonai ha-Elohim asher bacharta be'Avram v'hotzeto me'or kasdim v'samta shemo Avraham umatzata et levavo ne'eman lefanecha v'charot imo habrit. V'hayam bakata lifnehem, v'ya'avru v'toch hayam bayabasha, ve'et rodfehem, hishlachta bimsolot kemo even, b'mayim azim. Page 143. V'yosh Adonai bayom hahu et Yisrael miyad Mitzrayim, Vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim metal sfat hayam, Vayar Yisrael et hayad hagedolah, Asher asa Adonai b'Mitzrayim, Vayir'u ha'am et Adonai, Vaya'aminu b'Adonai uv'Moshe avdo. Az yashir Moshe uv'nei Yisrael, et hashira hazot l'Adonai, Vayomru le'mor. Ashira l'Adonai ki gaoga, sus beruch vo rama vayam. Mi kamocha bailim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele. On 144, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Ki l'Adonai hamlucha Moshel bagoyim, v'alu Moshim behar Tzion lishpot et haresav, v'haita l'Adonai hamlucha, v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. 145. On the bottom of 146, Le David barchi nafshi et Adonai v'chol kiravai et shem kadsho. 147, Ha'el beta'atzumot uzecha, Hagadol bichvod shemecha, Hagibor lanetzach, v'hanora benoratecha, HaMelech HaYoshev Al Kisei Ram V'Nisa. Okay. I can keep going. Okay, that's all right. I can keep going.
My kittle. Does anybody know why we have a kittle today? Later on in the service? All right. Well, there's always one in the crowd who's going to know the answer. That is unless Jeff wants to do it. Do you know the melody? You've known many melodies. All right. Well, we'll talk about it in the Torah service. Yeshikach. Thank you for getting us going this morning. As we move forward, you're welcome to be seated as we go through the beginning of our Shacharit. We are going to start. Let me grab mine. Can you tell I had too much wine last night? 4 cups was enough for me. Did you have 4 cups of wine last night? Grape juice? Wine? I'm joking. I didn't have too much wine. Just up cleaning late. That's what it was. No, we have a fun confluence of events since it's both Shabbat and Passover. So we have our festival service. We're going to include Hallel this morning as we go forward. Still counting what we have here. So page 147, you'll find the formal beginning of the Shacharit service, and we begin. Ha'el b'ta'atzumot uzecha, Hagadol bichvod shemecha, Hagibor lanetzach v'hanora b'norotecha, HaMelech HaYoshev Al Kisei Ram V'Nisa, Shochen Ad Maharam V'Kadosh Shemo V'Chatuv V'Raninu Tzadikim. V'fi Yesharim Titalal Uvdivrei Tzadikim Titbarach, Uvilshon Chasidim Titromaham Uvkerev Kedoshim Titkadash, Uvemakahalot רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יבר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור. שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל וכהלי זו כל דברי שירה ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו אל המלך הגדול בשמיים ובארץ. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך אלכי העולמים. I don't think we're quite there yet for our minion, unless there's people I don't see. Okay. I think we're at 10. All right, we're at 10 for sure. So we rise in the middle of page 148. See, I wasn't the only one up cleaning late or drinking too much wine today, right? Right? We knew we'd get our minyan just a little bit later as we all kind of filter in today to celebrate Shabbat and Passover. So we're in the middle of 148. 148. Yitkadaw v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. We rise. V'yalmad yivarach yiduteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon uv'yamechon v'chayecha be'Yisrael ba'agalav izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yishma v'naseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shmei dekudisha v'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. 149. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Mavarach Le'Elam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvarei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei Et HaKol. You are welcome to be seated. We follow, even though it's a festival, we follow the liturgy, the liturgical notes for Shabbat. We're on 150. HaKol Yaducha V'HaKol Yachshabechucha V'HaKol Yagru Ken Kadashah. En kirkech Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh v'yein zulatcha malkeinu l'chayei olam haba efes biltecha go'aleinu limot hamashiach v'yein dome lecha moshienu l'tchiyat hametim. 151. El Adon al kol hamasim baruch umbarach v'fi kol neshama gadlo v'tuva Malei olam da'at udvuna sovev imoto Amit gael achayot hakodesh v'nedar b'chavod ha'merkava Zechutu mishor lifnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodo Tovim me'orot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram b'da'at b'vina uv'chaskel koach ugvura Natan bahem liot moshlim b'kerev tevel Maleim ziv umfikim noga na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam Semechim b'tzeitam b'sasim b'voam Osim b'emay retzon konam Be'er v'chavod notnim lishmot halaverina lezecher malchuto kara lashemesh vayizrach ora'a v'yihitkin tzurat alvana shevach notnim lo kol tzivam aharom tiferet ugedula serafim v'ofanim v'chayot hakodesh. 152. La'el asher Shabbat mikol ha'ma'asim. Titbarach Moshienu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha v'yam orei or she'asita yifaruch hasela. We're over on 153. Titbarach tzurenu malkeinu go'alei marei kedoshim yishtabach shimcha le'amalkeinu. Hey, Phil. Yeah, but count again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just 10.
You're right.
We're good. I counted before, don't worry. Kulam avim, kulam birim, kulam giborim, v'chulam osim yehema, uvirat etzon kanam, v'chulam porchim epihem b'kedusha v'tahara, v'shira v'zimra, umbarachim u'mshabachim u'farim u'ma'aritzim, u'makdishim u'mamlichim, et shem ha'el ha'melech, ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanora, kadoshu, v'chulam mekablim aleihem ol malchut shamayim zeh mizeh, V'notanim reshut zeh lazeh le'hakdish li'otzram menachat ruach v'safav v'ravinim ha'kedosha kulam kecharonim v'yomrim b'yira kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot meloch ol haaretz kevodo v'aofanim v'chayot ha'kodesh bera'ash gadol mitnasim l'mat serafim Umatam shabachim v'yomrim Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo Le'el baruch nimot yitenu malchacha v'kayam. Very bottom of 153. Or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkech ulanu mehera le'ora Or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh chulanu mehera le'ora Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'oro. Page 154. Avarabavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Towards the bottom, the third paragraph, the Havienu paragraph, we gather together the four corners of the Talit, the four tzitzit, as we prepare for the Shema and the Haftara, the Vayomer paragraph, reminding us of the importance of the mitzvot as our way of making the world a better place, as our way of pulling together. When we bring those four tzitzit together, remind ourselves that when we pull together as a community, as a people, as a nation, we can indeed make wonderful miracles happen. So page 154. V'havienu leshalom me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tolichenu komamiyut le'artzenu ki helpo el Yeshua ta'ata Uvanu v'charta mikol ha'velashon v'keiravtanu l'shimcha ha'gadol selah behemet להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We read in the English together on 155. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words that I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them again and again to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and on your gates. We continue silently, 156. Middle of 156, you'll find the biblical instruction from the book of Numbers to wear the tzitzit, a reminder of the mitzvot. We join together. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael v'marta alehem, v'yasu lahem tzitzit, al kanfei v'dehem l'dorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit, al kanaf b'til techelet, Ve'aya lachem letzitzit, or item oto, uschartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, va'asitem otam, v'lo taturu, acharei levavchem, v'acharei nechem, asher atem zonim achareihem, leman tizkiru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim lelohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Amen. Nesiv Nachem V'Kayam Yashav. Ledor vador hu kayam ushmo kayam v'chison achon u'malchuto v'emunato la'ad kayamet v'rav chayim v'kayamim v'nemanim v'nechmanim. Emet shatahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elahei Avotenu Malkeinu Melech Avotenu Goalenu Goel Avotenu Yotzreinu Tzur Yeshuatenu Podenu Matzilenu Me'olam Shemecha Ein Elohim Zulatecha Ezrat Avotenu Atahu Me'olam Aginu Moshe Lifnehem V'chal Rechem V'chador V'ador. We're midway down in 158 on that top paragraph. Ram v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil geyim u'magbia shefalim motzi asirim u'fodel navim v'ozer dalim v'yon eliamo v'yet shavam elav tehilot le'el elyon Baruch hu mevorach Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nohora tehilot osefele Shira chadasha shibchu gelim l'shim chadas vatayam Yachad hodu ve'im lechu ve'yamru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed We rise Tzur Yisrael Kuma v'ezrat Yisrael Uvdechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch at Adonai Gal Yisrael. We begin the Amidah together over on page 306. 306, special for both Shabbat and the holiday of Pesach. We add the additions as we go forward in the silent part for Shabbat and Passover. You'll see as directed. 306. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi gitehilate Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi gitehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Haggadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, U'Mevi Goel Ifnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer Ufoked Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Ufokei Tzara Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh Meitim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed Mechayeh Meitim B'Rachamim Rabim Somech noflim verofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umidom elach melech memit umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emana talachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim 308, top and on the right. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakti shimoto bishmei marom Kakatuv al yad neviecha v'karazeh el zev yamar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai tzevaot Meloch ol haaretz kevodo Az b'kol ra'ash gadol, adir v'chazak mashmim kol, midnasim l'mat serafim, l'matam baruch yomeru, baruch yevod Adonai mimkomo, mimkom chamokenu tofia, v'tim l'chaleinu. Mimkom chamokenu tofia, v'tim l'chaleinu kimachakim anachnu lach, Mataitim lok betzion, bekarov yamenu lelam vaed, tishkon, tit gadal, v'tit kadash, betoch Yerushalayim irecha, ledor vador, netzach, unetzach netzachim. Ve'einenu tirena malchutecha kadavar amor b'shirei uzecha Al Yidei David Mashiach tzidkecha Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohayich Tzion Ledor vador Hallelujah Ledor vador Nagid Godlecha Ol netzach netzachim Kedushatcha Nakdish V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yemush le'olam va'ed Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh Ata Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh 309 Ata Kadosh Ata Chatanu Mikol Hamim Ata Vatitan La'anu Adonai Eloheinu v'yavasha Tot Minucha Moadim Simcha Gaz Yom Shabbat Hazev Yom Chag Matzot Hazev When you're through, you're welcome to be seated for just a moment. So on page 316, you'll find Seder Hallel, which is our special psalms that we add whenever it is a festival, or Rosh Chodesh for that matter. And today we do a full Hallel, and during the week, I believe we do a half Hallel during the Chol HaMoed, during the intermediate days of Passover. So we turn to page 316, and I ask if you're able to rise as we join together in Seder Hallel. And if you'll help sing from the pews, that would be wonderful. My little bit of a hoarse voice today, so we are all in this doing it together as we give thanks for the gift of freedom and the ability to celebrate Shabbat together as well. So page 316. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Lehoshivim nedivim im nedivei amo moshivi akeret habayit im habanim semecha hallelujah. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Hayta Yehuda l'kodsho Yisrael mamshlotav ayam rav ayanos ayarden yisov le'achor eharim rakedu cheyelim Gevaot kivnei tzon malech hayam kitanus ayarden tisov leachor heharim tirkedu cheyelim Gevaot kivnei tzon milifnei Adon chuli haaretz milifnei Eloi Yaakov Hahochi Hatzur Agamayim Chalamish Lemainomayim 317 Lolanu Adonai Lolanu. Tzabeyim kasev zahav masei Beit Aaron b'tchuv Adonai Ezramu maginam hu Yirei Adonai b'tchuv Adonai Ezramu maginam hu Adonai zecharanu yivarech et Beit Yisrael Yevarech et Beit Aaron Yevarech Yirei Adonai Haketanim im hagedolim Yosef Adonai alechem Alechem v'yal b'neichem Beruchim atem l'Adonai Oseh shamayim va'aretz Hashamayim shamayim l'Adonai V'haaretz natan lifnei Adam Lo hametim yehallelujah V'lo kol yardei dumav Anachnu nevarech ya ki yishma Adonai et koli v'tachonina. Hemanti ki adaber ani aniti me'od ani amarti b'chovzi kol ha'adam kozev mashiv l'Adonai kol d'mluhi alai kos Yeshua tzasav Hashem Adonai ekra. We're on the bottom of 318. Lecha esbach zevach toda uv'shem Adonai hekera nidarai l'Adonai ashalem negdana lechol hamo bechatzrot beit Adonai b'tochechi Yerushalayim bechatzrot beit Adonai b'tochechi Yerushalayim. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. 319. Hallelujah et Adonai kol goyim shabchu kol ha'umim ki gavar aleinu chasto ve'yemet Adonai le'olam hallelujah. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto yomarna Yisrael ki le'olam chasto yomruna Beit Aharon ki le'olam chasto yomruna Yirei Adonai ki le'olam chasto min ha'metzar karatiyan ani b'merchavya min ha'metzar karatiyan ani b'merchavya anani b'merchavya V'hamerchavya Adonai Lilohi Rama Yaseh Li Adam. We're on page 320. Pirchu li sharei tzedek Avovam Odeya Pirchu li sharei tzedek Avovam Odeya Zeh Hashar L'Adonai Tzadikim Yavovo Zeh Hashar L'Adonai Odecha ki anitani v'tehi li lishua. Odecha ki anitani v'tehi li lishua. Even masu habonim aita l'rosh pina. Even masu habonim aita l'rosh pina. Me'et Adonai haita zot ki niflat b'einenu. Me'et Adonai haita zot ki niflat b'einenu. Zeh hayom asa Adonai nagila v'nismechavo. Zeh hayom asa Adonai nagila v'nismechavo. Ana Adonai Hoshiana. Ana Adonai Hoshiana. Ana Adonai Hatzlichana. Ana Adonai Hatzlichana. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai b'rech nuchem mi beit Adonai b'rech Adonai. Aliyah ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka. Aliyah ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka. Odul Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. Odul Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. 321. Yalaluch Adonai Eloheinu kol maasecha yavachsidecha. Ki lecha tov lehodot ol shimcha na'el lezamer ki me'olam yad olam ata el baruch ata Adonai melech mehulal batishpachot. We continue with Kaddish Shalem 321. Yitkarav yitkarash shemei rabam yamad yivrach yidutev yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon uvyamechon uvchayedocho beYisrael ba'agalav bizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabam mevorach le'olam olam me'olmaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudesha b'richu le'ila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yama v'imeru. Amen. Titkabal tzloton uba uton dechol Yisrael kodam avu nevi shemaya v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabbamin shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. You may be seated for just a few moments. Since we've been standing for quite a while, we go into our Torah service in just a minute. As we will pause, we'll do our little bit of Torah study now, just for a moment before, so it gives everybody a chance to sit down. And then Jeff will lead us through the Shabbat Torah service. So we're going to actually turn back to our regular page, I think, for that. But in any case, guess what story we studied today? Purim. No. Rosh Hashanah. Passover. Of course we study Passover today. So we actually, if you were here just a few weeks ago, not so long ago, we studied the Parsha of Bo. And if you know your Parshiot and know the names, Bo comes right before Beshalach. And Bo is, what does Bo mean? Yeah, like it basically it is already, the name reminds us that there's something going on. There was movement, right? And this is the parasha where we see the heart of the Passover story. So if you talked at your seders last night or tonight, if you're at a seder and you talk about the Passover story, this is the history, right? This is the biblical account of it. And so in this morning's Torah reading, again, it's taken from Parshat Bo from the book of Shemot. We are going to witness the struggle to leave Egypt, and we experience in particular the rendering of the 10th plague. And of course, it's this 10th and final plague which, above all else, for many of us, feels very awkward. It questions our sense of justice and compassion. We're celebrating our freedom, but yet here was this plague that eventually helped bring us out into freedom, and yet it is a plague of the firstborn, the killing of the firstborn, that for our moral sensitivities cries out, right? It just doesn't sit well with us. And in the story itself, it's kind of a struggle. But the rabbis have some very nice insights, and I'll share with you one of them. You may remember it a little bit from Parshat Bo, but we're in the midst of the plague, and what are the people doing while this is happening? So here's how you know what your history. What were we doing? What were the Israelites doing during the 10th plague? Right, so they were in their houses. They had put the blood on the doorpost to make sure that the angel of death didn't come towards them, right? But they are having basically their Passover Seder, right? And they're packing, they're getting ready, and they're having their Passover Seder. So they're around their tables. You can imagine, we were around our tables last night, hopefully in joy, but you can imagine the Israelites. Put yourself into their shoes. They're told that they're going to be leaving, right? Or that this plague is going to be happening, rather. Not that they're leaving yet, but this plague is happening. And so, you can imagine, stay in your homes, but yet they anticipate that freedom is at hand. Meanwhile, what's happening with Pharaoh? Well, here's the 10th plague. It happens, and Pharaoh's heart, of course, we know has been hardened, and he rises up in the morning. This is from 12, verse 30, right, where we start our Torah reading a little bit after that. In Vayakom Paro Laila, he rose up in the night, and he calls to Aaron and Moses, and he finally says, take the people out. I'm done with this. This is the 10th time, right? I can take frogs in my bed and frogs on my head, but I can't take this. This has gone beyond the pale. And you may remember the Midrash I think I shared this a couple months ago when we hit Parshat Bo. But the rabbis of the Midrash fill in a lot of the details that aren't there. And it's this part of the story, and they actually tell it in a very comical way, but we might say it's kind of a sad view of the event. And according to a combination of various commentators, Mechilta in particular, Pharaoh rises up early while it's still dark outside, long before anyone has gotten up. And, of course, that would not be what he would normally do, right? You're the Pharaoh. You sleep in, and your attendants do everything for you. But here he is, and obviously the matter of the 10th plague and the freeing of the Israelites for the very first time now demands his great attention and his personal involvement. And so what does he do? According to the Midrash, he doesn't just say, hey, take the people out. He actually has to go find Moses and Aaron. And again, what were they doing late at night? And if you understand the rabbinic understanding of this story, they were still enjoying their Passover Seder. And here goes Pharaoh. He crosses the railroad tracks, so to speak. He goes to Goshen, where the Israelites lived, and he can't find Moses and Aaron. He's trying to tell them, get them people out, but he has to find them first. And according to the Midrash, people are misdirecting him in every way they can. Finally, he locates the pair, and of course, what are they doing? They're still in the midst of their Passover Seder. And Moses, according to the Midrash, and again, you may remember this, Pharaoh, he makes Pharaoh wait. Not only that, he makes Pharaoh talk to him through the window. He doesn't even invite him in. And to throw, salt on the wound, he pretends to not even recognize that it's Pharaoh, which I can't blame him, because who would expect Pharaoh to be roaming around Goshen late in the evening? But here he is, and he says, "What do you want?" And Pharaoh eventually, tells him what he wants. I want you to get out. And what does Moses do? Well, we might say it's a step to humiliate Pharaoh, to really put him in his place. But what does he do? He says, we're not leaving in the middle of the night. We're going to leave with integrity. We're going to leave with our heads held high, and we're going to wait till the morning. First off, it's not safe to do that at all, but he refuses to do anything in the morning. Why, say the rabbis? Well, because if he made a hasty departure with the Israelites in the middle of the night, it would imply that they're embarrassed, right? Or they're concerned with their safety. They want, again, go out with their heads held high. If we're going to do this, we're going towards freedom, let's act like free people, not just slink away in the middle of the night. That's what Pharaoh would want us to do. It saves Pharaoh from being embarrassed. Oh my, the Israelites got out while we didn't know, right? As opposed to waiting into the morning. And it would give Pharaoh that sense of control back. Now, if you stop at this point in the story, we really get a very different perspective, I think, of the results of the 10th plague. We get the perspective that Pharaoh, the rabbis wanted Pharaoh to simply be embarrassed and that he receives his just reward. And, okay, so he gets a little bit of a taste of what it was like to be an Israelite as a slave. He's on the other side of the experience, and now he knows. He's learning his lesson. But it's something more. I think there is something much more to the story than certainly sweet revenge. And if, again, you follow the rabbi's description of this whole event, seeing Pharaoh roaming around in his PJs looking for, Moses and Aaron to try to tell him what to do, right? So if you continue the story, I think the rabbis offer a much more important and sensitive message than just revenge is sweet. Because the dialogue that they give us between Moses and Pharaoh is really important. Moses declares, despite all of you have done to us, I want to teach you something. I want you to learn about who we are. And as the powerful Pharaoh, you should announce to Egypt that the Israelites are now free. In other words, we're not going to slink away in the night. This isn't just about embarrassing Pharaoh and being our own safety, right? He actually, say the rabbis, Moses has a twang of compassion and a hint of rachmanut in his heart, because even at the very end, he tries to, in some ways, uphold the dignity of Pharaoh, to teach him that to be compassionate is actually the hallmark of being Jewish, of being an Israelite, not revenge, right? It would be so easy to have the taste of revenge and have the taste of na, right? Like, you got what you deserved. But that's not really what we want to learn from this story. And the plagues in particular, the last one, should be seen not as a victory lap, right? But as an aberration, as an act that's not the normal part of our course of reality. This is not our moral intention, is to celebrate and to be happy about the destruction of other people. It's not a part of who we are as a people. It's not what we're going to be about. Once we get the Torah, once we travel to freedom, this is not who we are. And it's a reminder, I think, to us as Jews that we have to look at the world through the lenses of compassion and justice. And as the descendants of Abraham, if we're going to act, we have to act compassionately towards others, even those that we might consider our mortal enemies. So think about your Passover Seder last night or tonight, or in the past. How do we act out that moral lesson? Well, one way, we all, of course, through food and through experience and through telling the story and through questions. But one way, one of the first things we eat? What do? We dip the karpas in the salt water. What does the salt water represent? Tears, right? It represents the tears, but some suggest it's not just representing the tears of the Israelites in their misery, but what else could the tears represent in the context of this story? Yeah, the innocent Egyptians who endured the horror of destruction and death through those 10 plagues by having a leader that couldn't relent, by having a leader whose heart was hard. We feel for them. And I think we can look around in the world and we feel for those who we may look at as our enemies aren't really our enemies, right? They're people too. And they may, from no fault of their own, end up being caught into things. I think we see that in our world all the time. There's another ritual we do at the Seder, which is probably more obvious to this story, What do we do with our plagues? Take our finger, right? Our finger, our spoon, our fork, whatever is your custom to do. You take a drop of the wine, and every time we say a plague, what do? We take a drop out of our cup. Why do we do that? Yeah, so we're removing the wine from our glasses. What is wine a symbol of? Joy. So we're removing a joy. If at the moment of our liberation, we're removing a drop of joy, why would we be doing that? Well, the rabbis remind us, it's a physical reminder that we can never fully rejoice in our own freedom without remembering the pain the Egyptians endured as well. So the message is that even as we express the joy of freedom, we have to act with compassion for those who suffered, for they too are human beings created in the image of God. It's a wonderful message, and it's a wonderful way that even in our own celebration of Passover, it's fundamentally part of our Seder experience. The rabbis made it such to remove that drop, right, to taste that salt, and to remind ourselves that the bitterness of the experience that we had also transferred to others around us, and we can't forget that. We're going to look, when we get to the Torah reading, I'll make a comment about that as well. You can think about who left Egypt, who actually left Egypt. We'll discuss that in just a little bit when we get to around verse 37, where we see the actual preparing to leave and the account of who actually leaves. So keep these ideas in mind. Maybe share them around your Passover Seder tonight if you have the opportunity, or keep it in your back pocket for a future Seder or experience about Passover. I think it is a vital one in our world to remember the moral implication of the historical event that we see and what it can teach us. So with that, we're going to go into the Torah service. Gave us a chance to sit for just a minute and take a break from our tefillah. Jeff, if you'll come forward as you lead us in the Torah service, you will find it. It should be on our normal place. Oh. No, we don't. Yeah, we don't. It's a regular Shabbat. Let me get you the page number since I just... you can actually stay on 322 if you're there already, but we do not do the normal thing we might do for a festival. If you want to hear it, you got to come back tomorrow. We do the regular Shabbat. So page 322, I believe, if you like. Yep, 322, and we will then skip the 324. For Barich Shemay as we go forward. So we rise for Seder Hotza'at Torah as we take out and study the Torah.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'inke ma'asecha ma'achutecha ma'achut kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'hador. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Imloch, Leolam Moed, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitein, Adonai Yevarech et Amo V'Shalom, Avarachamim, Eitiva Virtzoncha et Zion Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Kivecha Levad Batagdu Melech El Ram V'Nisa Adon Olamim. Vayehi ben Aharon Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai V'yafutzu oivecha V'yanusu mesanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzei Torah ki mitzion tetzei Torah udavar Adonai mi Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
324. Our God and God of our love, you have given us appointed times for gladness, festivals for remembrance, and seasons for joyous celebration. Standing here before the Aron HaKodesh on this Shabbat and this festival of freedom, we affirm our dedication to the freedom of all and acknowledge our duty to proclaim liberty and to protect it. Help us, O God, to liberate ourselves and others from all those enslavements which diminish human life. As we rejoice in this renewal of spring, may be worthy of your bounties and thankfully preserve the world that's entrusted to our care. Together we recite the bracha, reminding us that it is a mitzvah to make the study of Torah an ongoing part of our lives. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. We continue the bottom of page 324, Be'an Arachetz.
Be'an Arachetz, Ve'lishmei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emar Tushbechan, Be'an Arachetz, Be'an Arachetz, Ve'lishmei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emar Tushbechan, Yehera Avakodama, Detiv Tahak Libi Be'oraita, V'tashli mishalin delibi, V'liba dechol amak Yisrael, Letavu chayin v'lishlam. Amen.
Page 325, you'll find Shema Echad Gadlu. We repeat after each of the first two lines as Jeff will lead us.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo Yachdav.
Tiferet v'hanetzach v'havod Shamayim u'varetz Ki chol b'shamayim u'varetz L'cha Adonai hamamlacha v'hamidnaseh l'chol l'rosh Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu le'adam raglav kadoshu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu le'har kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. As the Torah is placed in the shulchan and over here on the holder, you are welcome. All right, maybe seated. Should be rolling through the somewhere in my place. Are you from Chef?
Yes, got it. Got it.
Yeah? Okay. You can keep going. I don't know. Yes? Yes? Okay, I am. You want to read some?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's good. The Yazor? Do by Yazor first, then I'll give you my name.
The microphone there.
Oh, yeah.
You finally put some batteries in it, I hope.
I did. I put them yesterday for you. Yes, I did.
Very good.
It should be okay.
Yazor v'yogein v'oshialaho simbo v'nomar Amen. Hakol ovu kolol Eloheinu nohavo l'torah ta'amod Arav Mosheva Bat Hayim Lahava HaKohen Baruch Shenotam Torah Li'amo Yeshoel B'Kedushato Tim Avekim Ahim Yohem Ayom.
Okay. For the Kohen Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Rabbi Cohen. As Rabbi Cohen said, the reading for this first Aliyah, the Kohen Aliyah this morning, may be found page 385, beginning verse 21, and the Torah reader will be Jeff Cohen.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorah. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch et Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayikra Moshe l'chol ziknei Yisrael vayomer alehem mishkechu kulachem tzon lemispechotechem v'shachu ha'pasach ukaktem agudat ezov uvaltem v'dam asher basach v'higatem al hamishkof v'yashtehem ha'mezuzot min adam asher basach v'yatem lo tetzu ish b'ptach beito ad boker ve'avar Adonai lingof et Mitzrayim ve'ra'a et adam al hamashkof ve'al shetei ha'mezuzot ufasach Adonai al ha'petach ve'lo yiten hamashchit lavo el batechem lingof ושמרתם את הדבר הזה להקק לך ולבניך עד עולם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam natav b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Ya'amo Natan ben Yitzhak Halevi v'Hanaleah.
For the Levi Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Jonathan Bernstein. The reading for the Levi Aliyah may be found page 386, beginning verse 25.
Just in that first Aliyah, you saw the description of how we were remaining in our homes, where we put the blood on the doorpost. You heard that word mezuzot several times. The doorpost it was describing. It's again what the description of the actual account of what the people were doing, hiding in their homes, if you will, with the blood on the doorposts.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'haya kitavo el haaretz asher yitein Adonai lachem kasher diber v'shmartem et havodah hazot v'haya ki yomru aleichem b'neichem ma avodah zot lachem v'amartem zevach pesach l'Adonai asher asach Abatei b'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim b'nag poet Mitzrayim b'bateinu hitzil v'yikodah v'ishtachavu v'yelechu v'asu b'nei Yisrael ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe v'Aharon ke'asu.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natan b'tzidkenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ta'amod Shulamit Lyle Ben Menachem V'Diana Alitzia Shalishi.
And here is where you, of course, in this Aliyah, you see the command for the Israelites to go. Here is where on verse 31, he summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, "Up, depart from among my people, leave, get out of here." And again, we will see that we delayed in doing that, but here is the middle of the night, and this is where the rabbis get the seeds for their commentary that I shared with earlier.
For the third Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Celeste Della Torre. The reading for the third Aliyah may be found page 387, beginning verse 29, first line, page 387. The Torah reader is Jeff Cohen.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi b'chatzi halayla Adonai kakol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim mikor paro yoshev al kiso ad bechor ashvi asher bebeit tabor bechor behema hayacham paro laila hu bechol avada bechol Mitzrayim v'tihi tziyaka gedola b'Mitzrayim yehein bait asher ein sham mei Vayikra leMoshe laHaron laila Ayomer kumuteu mitoch ami gametem gam b'nei Yisrael uchu ivdu et Adonai kedal berchem gam sodchem gam bechar bechem kechuk asher dibartem v'alechu uveraktem gam oti.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yeshkoach.
Ya'amod ben Zion ben Ephraim David Esther Revi'i.
So in this Aliyah, you'll see we're on where we get the idea, or one of the explanations for matzah, right? The people, verse 34, took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders. If you look at the note down below on verse 34, it's very interesting. It tries to really explain that, yes, we were already eating matzot, but here's another rationale, kind of, but sort of. But it was already pre-existing practice. So you can read the note for yourself on 34. It's interesting that it's really kind of a debate on that. But we know that when we eat the matzah, it's a representative of both our liberation and of our enslavement, being a lowly food, and at the same time representing our ability to leave in haste. We didn't have time to make our challahs, make our bread as we would. So you'll see this in this Aliyah.
For the fourth Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Bruce Bauman. The reading for this Aliyah may be found page 387, beginning verse 33.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaBaruch.
Baruch
Adonai Baruch Le'olam V'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabonu mikol ha'amim v'nosan lanu es torso. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen.
ותחזק מצרים על העם למהר לשחר מן הארץ כי אמרו כולנו מתים ויישא העם את בצקו טרם יקמץ משערותם צברות בסמלותם על שכמם בני ישראל עשו כדבר משה ישאלו ממצרים כלי כסף וכלי זהב ושמלות אדוני נתן את הן העם בעיני מצרים וישילום וינצלו את מצרים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher nosan lanu Torah semes v'kayem olam notav esopeinu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. We pause for Mishar Berach for our Cholim. Misha Berach Avotenu Vimotenu Avraham Yitzchak V'Yakov Sarah Rivka Rachav Leah Yivarech V'Yapeh Et Kol HaCholim Ari ben Shmuel Bela bat Surah bat Yaleah bat Esther Bela bat Malka Chaim Shmuel ben Leah Yocheved Daniel ben Sarah Esther bat Miriam Fegi Riva bat Basha Feivel ben Abraham Feivel ben Rachel Friedel bat Moshe Feivel Zelek ben Bela V'Chaim Beryl Halevi Hadassah bat Realeah Hinda bat Chava Ilan Nesher ben Rivka Leah bat Yehudit, Liat bat Rivka, Malka bat Zev, Masha bat Zisamarel, Masha Leba bat Roslin, Moshe ben Miriam, Nechama Sarah bat David, Nechoma bat Yaakov, Peril bat Tama, Pinchas Velvel ben Leah, Rachel bat Devorah, Rachel bat Yehudit Chaya, Raphael ben Wolf, Rachel Chenya bat Noah Vefega, Shaloma bat Yaakov, Shendel bat Golda, Shimon ben Chana, Shlomit Chana bat Bela, Shoshana bat Pearl, Simcha ber ben Chaya, Tova bat Sarah, Yaakov ben Shlomit Chana, Yechezkel ben Sarah, Yehudit Golda bat Elka, Yoel ben Yosef, Yosef ben Avraham Vasara, Tzivia Miriam bat Avigal Batya, Pia Bracha bat Liba Leah, Alan Waghalter, Art Donaldson, Carson Moser, Charlie Pruitt, Daniela Valdez Vasquez, Sophie Handler, Elaine Marin, Elna King, Gary Rosenthal, Joseph Godovin, Jill Testa, Carol Bloom Rumsey, Kimberly Lang, Maria Beck, Marion Braun, Mark Hermelin, Mary Young, Phil Zipkin Day, Robin Keller, Rosario Vasquez, Sarah Ibarra, Shane Goldberg, Sharon Abelo, Sharon Hermelin, and to all whose names we recite aloud or within ourselves at this moment. HaKadosh Yimolei Rachamim Aleichem L'achazikam L'rapotam V'shlach Lahem Mehirat Refuah Shlema L'chol Areihem V'gidehem B'toch Shar Cholei Yisrael Refuat HaNefesh U'Refuat HaGuf V'nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, grant the blessing of healing and of health to all whose names we recited aloud or had within our thoughts. May God be with them and with those who care for them. May the Holy One strengthen them and bring them healing of body and soul, together with all others, whether ill in the hospital or at home. And together we say, Amen. Refuah Shlema. You'll find this next Aliyah, just as a quick note. I mentioned earlier, so who leaves Egypt? It says the text, the Israelites leave, and they're joined by Erev Rav, a mixed multitude of peoples. So the question is, who are these peoples? Who came out of Egypt into freedom with us, as the Israelites with us, right? The medieval commentator par excellence, Rashi, states that these were simple people of other nations who took advantage of the Israelite departure to free themselves from slavery as well, right? So they see what's going on. It's a balagan. You know what a balagan is, right? It's crazy. It's a mess. It's crazy. All right, so we're all leaving. Oh, let's go. We can go too. Why can't we go too? The medieval Spanish commentator Ibn Ezra contends that this Erev Rab were actually common Egyptians who had married into or had close friendships with Israelite families and chose to join them. That would make sense. Think about some of the Egyptian maidservants, right? The people who were helping out with births, right? Shifra and Puah, for instance, people like that were a part of the Israelite life. And so people like that might have been leaving too. Whatever the case is, we recognize that this redemption of Israel, and it goes back to the theme we talked about earlier, it had an impact well beyond our own ancestors. It wasn't in the end an opportunity for others, perhaps who didn't have anyone to speak up for them, or no one to watch out for them, to also be freed from bondage. And it's a reminder that what we do, of course, affects the rest of the world, but certainly it also reminds us that we can have an amazing effect on the world as well as on other people. So keep that in mind in this Aliyah. You'll also see how, as part of this, that we didn't leave empty-handed. The Egyptians gave us some of their goods and wares, and you can read the note on the bottom of 387 about that, and how we took some silver and gold with us when we left. There's lots of debate on whether it was given, whether it was taken, how did we acquire it, but we know it will end up playing into the building of the tabernacle later on in our experience as we wander through the desert. So keep it in mind. That's all I have to say.
Ta'amud, Chanabat Avraham Avinu, V'yet Yoshua, Ben Yonatan, Ben Ilan, Ben Yonatan, Chamishi.
For the fifth Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Angela Ben and her sons. The reading for the fifth Aliyah may be found page 388, beginning verse 37, third line, page 388.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher b'charanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Aisu b'nei Yisrael miram sei Sukkota kishesh me'ot elef ragli hagvarim levad mitaf megam erav alai itam v'tzahon avakar mignech ave me'on ayofu et havatzek asher hotziu mimitzrayim ugot matzot ki lo chametz Ki gorshu Mitzrayim Velo yaklu lehid mamea Megam tzedach lo asu lahem Moshe b'nei Yisrael Asher yashvu b'Mitzrayim Shloshim shana v'arba me'ot shana Vayehi miketz shloshim shana v'arba me'ot shana Vayehi Be'etzem hayom hazeh yatu Kol tzive ot Adonai me'eretz Mitzrayim Lel Shimurim hu Adonai lehotzia me'eretz Mitzrayim hu halayla hazel Adonai Shimurim lecho b'nei Yisrael ledorotam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amot Shishi.
For the sixth Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Emily Sparks. The reading for the sixth Aliyah may be found page 389, beginning verse 43, middle of page 389. The Torah reader is still Jeff Cohen.
Ruth Bat Haya. Shishi.
Baruch hu Adonai hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe v'Aharon zod hukai apasa kol b'mikar lo yocha bo v'chol eved ish mikan kasef u'mal tao az yocha bo toshav v'sachir lo yocha bo v'vahayit echad yachel lo totzi min habayit min habashar chutza ve'etzem lo Tishberuvo kol adat Yisrael yasu oto.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Shkoach.
Ta'amo David ben Shmuel Shvi'i.
For the seventh Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors David Kimmelman. The reading for the seventh Aliyah may be found page 390, beginning verse 48.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yagorid chager ve'asa pesach l'Adonai imo lo chol zachar ve'az yikrav l'soto v'hayat Yisrael ha'aretz v'chol ha'real lo yocha bo Torah chad yeh la'ezrach ve'lager hagar b'tochechem Ayasu bo b'nei Yisrael ka'asher tziva Adonai Moshe v'Aharon ke'asu v'yehi b'etzem hayom hazeh hotzi Adonai et b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim al tzivotav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Please rise for Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yamad yibarak yirtei v'yamleid malchutei. V'chayechon yamecha v'chayedecha v'Yisrael. Bagala bagala uvizman v'yitabach, v'yipa'ar, v'yitoma, v'yinaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha barichu, le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata, tushmechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'yoma, ve'imeru, amen.
We remain standing for the lifting and tying of the first Sefer Torah. Bezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Yad Adonai Yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu.
Right there, right? Oh, wait, it's the third right. That's right.
Torah, Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. You are welcome to be seated. We're a very efficient Torah lifter and higher. So the Mafia for today is one we read on both days of the Chag. It provides a description of the special sacrifices that our ancestors made on Passover. You're going to find it wherever Mark tells you to find it.
For the Mafia Aliyah this morning, the congregation honors Jeff Cohen. The reading for the Mafia Aliyah may be found page 931, beginning verse 16. Last line, page 931. The Torah reader will be Rabbi Cohen.
Yamo, Yaakov Meyer, Ben Shmuel, HaKohen, Vitzapora, Maftir.
How's that?
Baruch et Adonai Hambarak. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'chodesh harishon v'arba asar yom lachodesh Pesach l'Adonai u'v'chamisha asar yom lachodesh hazeh chag shiva yamim matzot ye'achel b'yom harishon mikra kodesh kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu v'hikravtem isha olah l'Adonai parim b'nei bakar shnayim v'ayel echad v'shiva kvasim b'nei shana t'mimim yihu lachem umin chatam solet v'lulav hashamen shlosha esronim lapar u'shnei esronim la'ayil ta'asu Isaron ta'aseh la'keves ha'echad l'shivat ha'kvasim u'si'ir chatat echad l'chaper alechem milvad olat ha'boker asher lo tamid ta'asu et ele ka'ele ta'asu la'yom shivat yamim lechem yishereach nichoach l'Adonai al olat tamid ye'aseh v'nizko u'vayom hashvi mikra kodesh yeh lachem kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temed b'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yamdu amagbi avahagoleo sefer sheni.
We rise for the lifting and tying of the second Sefer Torah. Uh-oh, there we go. Zizot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah Tziva lanu Moshe. As the Torah is placed in the holder, you are welcome to be seated. The special Haftara for this first day of Pesach is taken from the words of Joshua, from the book of Joshua, and it describes the very first Passover that's celebrated in the Promised Land. Those of us in the Turning Points class on Wednesday night, we actually mentioned this a week or two ago. But we see the entrance of the Israelites into the Promised Land. It marks the end of their journey that began when Israel was freed from slavery in Egypt. And in our class, we were debating whether this marked the end of the Exodus, actually, or is the Exodus when we crossed through the Red Sea, or is it when we got to Sinai and received the Torah? There are multiple understandings of this journey towards freedom that we talk about. But here it is clear we've made it into the land, and here we are taught what we are supposed to be doing. We're reminded what the first Passover would be celebrated in the Promised Land. And since that time, 40 long years of journeying had been taking place, and the moment of fulfillment is at hand. So we had heard about what we were supposed to do once we got in the land. For 40 years, we've heard about it. Now in Joshua, we see we are finally arriving in the land, and the Israelites come to reaffirm the covenant that they share with God as they begin a new life in the land of Israel. So you'll find this on page 300 from again, the book of Joshua, page 300 in your Chumash.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo U'b'nbi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayomer Yehoshua el ha'am hikadashu ki machar yaseh Adonai b'kirbechem niflaot. Vayomer Yehoshua el ha'kohanim lemor Seu et Aron habrit ve'ivru livnei ham. Vayisu et Aron habrit vayelechu livnei ham. Vayomer Adonai el Yehoshua hayom hazeh achel gadelcha b'nei kol Yisrael asher yid'un ki Ka'asher hayiti Moshe ehyeh imach ba'et hahi Amar Adonai el Yehoshua aseh lecha charevot tzurim v'shuv Mo et b'nei Yisrael shenit. Vayas lo Yoshua charvot surim. Vayamal et b'nei Yisrael el givat ha'aralot. V'zeh hadavar asher mal Yehoshua kol ha'am hayotzei mimitzrayim hazcharim kol anshei hamilchama metu bamidbar baderech b'tzeitam mimitzrayim kimulim hayu kol ha'am hayotzim v'cholam hayilodim bamidbar baderech b'tzeitam mimitzrayim lo malu ki 40 shana halchu b'nei Yisrael bamidbar atom kol hagoy anshei hamilchama yotzim mimitzrayim asher lo shama'u b'kol Adonai asher nitzba Adonai lahem levilti harotam et haaretz asher nitzba Adonai leviltam lahate lanu eretz zavat chalav udavash B'neihem Hekim taktam otam al Yehoshua Ki arelim hayuki Lo malu otam badarech Vayehi Kasher tamu chogo hagoy lehimo Vayeshvu taktam B'machane ad hayotam Vayomer Adonai el Yehoshua Hayom galoti et cherpad mitzrayim aleichem vayikra shem hamakom hahu Gilgal ad hayom hazeh vayachanu b'nei Yisrael v'Gilgal vayasu et hapesach mi'arba asar yom lachodesh Ba'erev barevot Yericho Vayochelu me'avur ha'aretz Mimachorat ha'pesach matzot bekalui Be'etzem hayom hazeh Vayishpot haman Mimachorat Be'ochla me'avur ha'aretz Ve'lo haya od Livnei Yisrael man Vayochelu midvuat eretz Canaan bashana hahi Vayehi biyot Yehoshua biricho Vayisai navayar Hine yishomeh lanegdo Echarbo shalupa biyado Vayelech Yehoshua elav vayomer lo Alanu atam im letzarenu Vayomer lo Ki ani sarsvat Adonai ata havati Vayipo Yehoshua el panav artza vayishtahu Vayomer lo Ma'adoni medaber el avdo Vayomer Sartzev Adonai el Yehoshua Shana alecha me'al raglecha Ki hamakom asher atah omed alav kodeshu Vayas Yoshua Kain Biricho sogeret sugeret mipnei bnei Yisrael ein yotze ve'ein ba Vayehi Adonai et Yehoshua Vayehi shomo b'chol haaretz Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech haolam, tzor kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, hayal ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'medaber kayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, Ne'emah natahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davarecha midvarecha, achor lo yashu rekam, ki el melech ne'eman v'rachamon ata, baruch ata Adonai. Ha'ela ne'eman b'chol devarav, rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu, v'la'alu v'nefesh toshia b'mira v'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai. Nesameach Tzion bevaneha, samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha, u'v'malchut midavi meshichecha, b'meira yavo v'yagel libenu, al kiso lo yesh zar v'lo yinchalu od acherim kevodo, ki b'shem kodshecha nishbata lo, shelo yigbeinu ro le'olam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai, Magen David. Al HaTorah, ve'al HaAvodah, ve'al HaNevi'im, ve'al Yom HaChamazot hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, litusha v'limnucha, lesason u'simcha, lechavod u'tifaret, al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu, anaknu modim lach, u'mevarchim otach, yiparashimcha befi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai. Mekadesh HaShabbat b'Yisrael v'Hazmanim.
Amen. Yeshua. Beautiful as always. We turn back to page 177. There you will find our prayer for our country, as we always add to our tefillot. So, Jaime, if you'll come forward as we read responsively in the English, the 3 paragraphs, 177.
Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land.
All creatures, we pray that your spirit be awakened, and within all the inhabitants of our land, uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife, plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, the wisdom to act with compassion, and the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our land.
May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You'll find the prayer for the state of Israel, as we always add on Shabbat, page 178 on the left.
Prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, stronghold and redeemer of the people Israel. Bless the state of Israel, that it may be the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph, Bless the land with peace in its inhabitants, with lasting joy, and let us say, Amen.
Shkoch. If you'll turn forward in your Siddur again to the concluding part of the Torah service, there you'll find Ashrei. If you'll come forward, and Solomon, you want to help with Ashrei? Want to do a little Ashrei with us? That'd be great. Page 181.
Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Helu Hasela.
Ashreham shekachalo, Ashreham shadonai Elohav.
Tehila leDavid, Arumim Chanohan HaMelech, Hashimcha le'olam va'ed.
V'choyam avarcheka, v'yalalashimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Mehula Me'od, V'yigdoto ein cheker.
Dor lador yishabach ma'asecha, ugverotecha yagidu.
Hadar kevod hodecha, V'divrei nivnotecha asicha.
V'zuz narotecha yomeru, ugdalatecha saprena.
Zecher Rav Tucha Yaviu, Tzigata Yerhanenu.
Chanun berachum Adonai, erech hapayim ugdal chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, Rechamav kol ma'asav.
Yoduch Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod matucha yomeru, Ugratecha naveru.
Leodia livnei Adam gevurotav, uchvar hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol amim, Umemshaltecha b'kol dor v'ador.
Somech Adonai l'chol hanoflim, v'zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Ene chol elecha yisaberu, V'atanot elahem etochlam beito.
Poteach et yadecha, umaspil l'chol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'kol derachav, V'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Arov Adonai l'chol chorav, l'chol asher yikruhu behemet.
V'tzon yirei yasem, V'et Shabbatam lishma v'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol ahava, v'et kol shayim yashmid.
Milad Adonai yedaber pi, V'direk kol basar shem chodsho le'olam va'ed.
V'anachnu nevarech ya, v'yatav yad Elohav, hallelujah. We rise for Seder Haknasat HaTorah as we return the Torah scroll to the Aron HaKodesh. You'll find us on page 221. Or whichever one.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, Ki nizkav shemo levado. Odo al eretz v'shamayim, Mayarem keheren li'amo. Tehila lecho chasidav, Livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, Havul Adonai ben Elim, Havul Adonai, Kavod Vaos, ay, 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 Havul Adonai, Kvod Shemo Yishtachavu L'Adonai behadra kodesh, Kohol Adonai ala hamayim, El hakavod yirim, Adonai al maim rabim, Kol Adonai b'koach, ay, 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 Kohol Adonai be'adar, Kohol Adonai shover arazim, Vayshaber Adonai et arzei albanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Lebanon, Vesirion kemo ben reimim, Kol Adonai Hotze Lavodesh, Kol Adonai Yachil Mihidbar, Yachil Adonai Mihidbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yeholel Ayalot, Vayecheso Ye'arot Uhechalo Kulo Omer Kavod Adonai Lama Bo Yashava Yeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Yos Le'amo Yitin Adonai Yevarech et Amo Vashalom Necho Yomar Eitz Chaim Hi Lamazikim Ba V'tomcheha Meushar Deracheha Darchei Noam V'chol Netivoteha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu
As the Aron HaKodesh is closed, we remain standing for a very special Musaf service. You'll find it beginning on page 342. I will try to help you move through the pages. A little complicated. Today we add the prayer for Tal, for dew, as we move out of the rainy season in Israel in particular, and we anticipate the late spring and summer. We ask God for what should be in our season, which is dew. We don't ask for rain when we know it's not going to rain in the middle of July, but we ask for our crops. This was the ancient way, certainly of our ancestors, asking for protection for the agriculture. And so we see that vestige today on the first day of Pesach, as we add, stop saying Mashiv HaRuach, and we'll read HaGashem, and we'll add our special prayer for Tal. You see I put my kittel on. The fragility of life and the cycles of nature certainly are vestiges that are part of our experience, and so the tradition is to wear the kittel that we wear on the high holidays, just as we wear it then today, reminding us again of that fragility of life. And so you'll see again the Tal prayer, and then we'll go into the rest of what will be familiar Musaf. I'll guide you along as we can. But we're on page 342. Page 342, you'll find Chatzi Kaddish. And you'll hear the special melody. It will actually sound a little bit like the high holidays. It sounds a little bit like Ne'ilah, which in my own personal commentary, Ne'ilah is our closing prayer of Yom Kippur. And just likewise, we close out the agricultural season with the hope again that we will get enough dew, that we can have a full harvest, a late spring harvest and a fall harvest later on as well. So you'll hear that melody. 342. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalema divrei chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'gala v'zman kariv v'imera amen. Yehesh me Rabba mevarach le'olam olomei olmaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitrama v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiram bi'alma v'meru amen. We begin the Amidah together, page 374, after which we will move to the tall prayer on 375. 374. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Lifnei V'neihem L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer U'Fokeru Moshe U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham U'Foked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atah Rad Lehoshia. 375. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Tal, 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 ten lirtzot artzach, shiteinu v'racha v'didzach, rov dahagan v'tirosh v'chavtri ritzach, komem irbach eftzach betal. We read the second paragraph in the English on 375. Command due to provide a good year, crowned with the splendor and glory of the fruits of the earth. May the city that has become an abandoned hut become a royal wreath held in your hands with heavenly dew batal. In the middle, tal, 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 nofecha le'eretz brucha, mimeged shamayim sab'enu v'racha, lehayir mitoch hashecha, kana acharecha mishucha betal. We read in the middle of the page in the English, may dew flow down mountainsides like honeyed juice, flavoring the choice fruits of your land. May our voices rise to sing songs of praise as you break the chains of those who plead with you with heavenly dew, betal. Towards the bottom, tal, 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 vasova male asameinu, chachahei techadesh yameinu, dod ke'er kechamed shemeinu, gan raves simeinu betal. May dew produce abundance for our silos. Is not now the time to renew our days? Beloved, raise up our name to be as yours, making us a flourishing garden with heavenly dew, betal. Tal, 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 bov ditivarech mazon b'mishbanenu, al yehi razon, ahayuma, sher yisata katzon, anatafek la ratzon betal. Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu, mashiv haruach, umorid hatal. Livracha v'lo liklala, lechayim v'lo lamavet, lesova v'lo l'razon. Amen. Page 344, we go back as we continue the Amidah. Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayim meitim berachamim rabim, zahomech noflim v'rofech cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Givurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memit Umechaya, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanat Alachayot Metim, Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayei HaMetim. 345. Naritzecha v'nakdishecha kesod siach sarfei kodesh amakdishim shimcha b'kodesh kakatu v'yad nevi'echa v'kara ze'el zeviyamar kadosh 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch ol haaretz kivodo, kivodo malei olam, kivodo malei olam, mishar tav shohalim zeh lahazeh, aye mekom kivodo leumatam baruch yomeru. Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo. Mimkomo Yifen Berachamim Yachonam Ham Yachadim Shemo Erev Avoker Bechol Yom Tamid Erev Avoker Bechol Yom Tamid Pamayim Yahava Shema Omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Eloheinu Avinu Malkeinu Moshienu Vehu Yashmienu Berachamav Shenit Le'enei Kochai Vehu Yashmienu Berachamav Shenit Le'enei Kochai Liot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol ha'aretz V'hayadonai l'melech kol ha'aretz V'yom ha'hui Adonai echad U'shemo echad Uvdivrei kodshecha katuv le'mor Yimloch Adonai le'olam Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohech tzil l'dor hallelujah L'dor vador nagid god lecha Lo netzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yemush le'olam vahed Ki hamelech gadol v'kadosh ata Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh 346 Ata Kadosh Ata v'chartan mikol hamim Haftara tanu v'tzita banu v'namatanu kamshem Karata v'titema Shabbat Nucha Modim Simcha Kamim Zmachis HaShabbat Hazeh Yom Chag HaMatzot Hazeh Avami Frapesh Tzrayim Hagamatzot Hazeh Malchutecha Shomrei Shabbat V'Korei Oneg Shabbat. Not yet through, you're welcome to continue. We turn to page 203. 203 for Kaddish Shalem. Yitkadav Yikadash Shemeh Rabba B'yamad Yivrach Yinutev Yimlich Malchuteh B'chayechon Uv'yimechon Uv'chayeducha B'Yisrael Ba'agala B'zman Kari V'imeru Amen Yehesh Me Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Olam Me'olmaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach Yitbar V'shemam Yinaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha B'richu Le'elam Yikol B'chata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechemata Da'amiram Yama V'imeru Amen Titkabal Tzoloton Uva Uton Dechol Yisrael Kodam Avonim Divi Shemaya V'imeru Amen Yehesh Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Alenu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'imeru Amen Oseh Shalom B'mroma V'yaseh Shalom Alenu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'imeru Amen. You are welcome to be seated. Page 204, we join together. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Malkeinu, mich Moshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehiktiru Abotenu, Lefanecha Eketoret Hasamim. We rise for Aleinu, page 205. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tein gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asani kegoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu chorim, mishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, akadosh baruch hu, she'unot hashamayim v'yoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim imam, ushchinatu zo, Begov Emeromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efesu Lato, Kakatu Betorato, Viadata Hayom, Vahashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim Papa Bashamayim Imal V'Haaretz Mitachat Einod Al Kenekav Elecha Adonai Eloheinu Yerot Meher Fer Tuzacha Takin Olam Ki hamalchut shelcha hi ul'ameatim loch bechavod kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad u'shemo echad. You are welcome to be seated. Welcome to be seated. We turn to page 207, and there you will find our mourner's Kaddish. And certainly, as we recite mourner's Kaddish, know it's been a very difficult couple of weeks here in our community, and we extends our condolences to the extended Horland family on the death of Joel Horland. A funeral was on Thursday, and so the family's moving through the Shiva period now, so we keep him in our thoughts. Certainly, we give our hugs of support to the Halfant family on the death of Eddie Halfant, and to Jeff and Adam and the entire Cohen clan on the death of our beloved Sylvia Cohen. Keep her in our thoughts today for sure. We also remember Babs Schnitzer, mother of David Schnitzer and former sister-in-law of Phyllis Cole. We remember Rabbi Arnold Feldman, brother of Rivka Schechter and uncle of Josh Schechter, and Elaine Munoz, who's the mother of Debbie Wood, and Danny Munoz. We also mention the names of those who yortzites occurred today and the week that is coming. Muriel Aaron Bykoff, Bernard Cohen, Natalia Graham-Dean, Marlene Friedman, Isaac Grinspan, Abraham Halpin, Israel Horowitz, Elizabeth Horowitz, Gilbert Josephson, Bessie Krakow, Rose Krull, Emmanuel Kolbersch, Lillian Lehrman, Dorothy Leverant, Barbara I. Mazer, Sylvia Moss, Sam Okrent, Mazal Oiknine, Bruce Olian, Solomon Rosenberg, Carol Rosenblatt, Nathan Schlafsky, Sam B. Schwartz, Gail Chandler, Esther Schatz, Regina Schweike, Bob Stern, Rosa Teitelbaum, Levi Toplitz, and Maurice Wadish. Those reciting Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish, and certainly if there are any names that are not on the list that you wish to pause to remember, keep them in our thoughts. Page 207, you'll find Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Those reciting, if you'll rise and join with me. Yitz Gadal v'yitz Kadash Shemei Rabbah B'alma Divra Chirute V'amlich Malchute V'chayechon Uv'yomechon Uv'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uv'izman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam Olomei Olmaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. Just a few quick announcements for this morning. First off, before I forget, I want to thank Phil for getting us going this morning with Psuke de Zimra and being our usher and all-around good guy here on the Bima. We thank Bernard, you were ushering a little bit too, and being our good guy, all-around good guy here on the Bima, being our gabbai, but I know you were in the back ushering before while Phil was up here, and even Cameron got in on the business a little bit back there, so we've got quite a crew sharing the load. Appreciate it greatly. Thank Mark Schnall as well for being here on the Bima, helping out with Torah service, as you always do. We appreciate it greatly. And Jeff, thanks for doing Torah service for us and Torah reading. That was a beautiful Torah reading, and appreciate your help. I appreciate it in particular. A little help on the Bima is always a good thing, so we appreciate that. And for the Haftara that you did, as always, beautiful, and for finishing up Torah service. So we thank you for all of that. There is, just before I forget, no Kiddush lunch, but there is grape juice out there, and there should be a couple boards of matzah. If not, we have some here. We're going to do something a little different. We're a pretty small group today. Since we're not doing a Kiddush lunch, presumably everyone go home and get rested up, save your appetites for a second Seder. We're going to do Kiddush and Motzi in the rotunda today. So it's normal. We add an extra line for Passover. We'll join together Vivashamru, but there's no l'chaims tonight because there's no whiskey and stuff like that because of Passover. But you do have some grape juice and wine and kosher for Passover wine out there. So if you all want to go out, anyone who wants to stay, take a cup. We'll do Kiddush and our motzi over our matzah out there, just for the sake of being able to be together and doing that together, since the cups are ready to go for us. So keep that in mind. So exploring Judaism, there are a few things coming up this week. We had a new class start a couple of weeks ago, 6:15 on Zoom with Rabbi Ricky Arad. If you're interested in conversion or you just want to explore and learn the basics of Judaism, been curious about Judaism, we need a refresher course after Hebrew school, whatever may be the case, this is an all-around good way to explore Judaism in a safe and wonderful context. So again, via Zoom, 6:15 on Tuesdays. So you can contact Jessica in the office if you're interested in joining. You can get the Zoom. It's not too late to sign on and participate. We do have a very special program coming up this Tuesday night, which on the 19th rather, yes, which is Tuesday night. So I think that you will probably have a very shortened Zoom class because we have our evening of Jewish humor, 7 p.m. here in the sanctuary, an evening of Jewish humor. It promises to be an exploration of Jewish humor written and narrated by Linda Kaufman with a plethora of Jewish jokes and selected scenes from Kaufman musicals. The audience will both be informed and entertained. This was planned for way back in January as part of a community-wide program that we were sponsoring along with help from the Federation in terms of letting the community know. And because of COVID, we had to postpone it. It is now coming this week. And you know what? We could use a little bit of humor, a little bit of laughter during this holiday. So come join us, 7 p.m. This Tuesday evening. Also, put on your calendar, our Community Yom HaShoah program is April 27th at 7 p.m. Wednesday evening. The entire community will join at Road Fair for the remembrance. I know each congregation will have a teenager representing the community, each of our communities, in a candle lighting ceremony. So this is our Communal Yom HaShoah program. Hope you will be able to be there. And just put on your calendar as well, Sunday, May 1st, because it's coming fast. From 9 to 12, there's an NCJW, Temple Bethel, the San Antonio Food Bank, and our Haftara program, I believe, social action program, is to fight hunger in San Antonio. We're collecting tuna and peanut butter. Red donation bins will be available after the holiday through May 1st here in the synagogue. You could look for them and rise up to feed hunger and provide hope. Certainly makes sense as we enjoy wonderful Passover meals that we think about those who are in need of help in eating. And finally, Karen would not appreciate if I left this one out. Our sisterhood is having a fashion show. Yay. Sunday, May 1st at 10:30 at Chico's at Hebner Oaks. You're welcome. And seating is limited, so you got to RSVP. Then you can come back here to the Cavi Family Pavilion for, a mimosa and brunch. So come see the fashion show, then come back here after for a little bit of yummies. All right, so with that, tomorrow, we hope you will come join us. Help us make a minyan for the second day of Pesach. We will be here 9:15. It's not our normal Sunday morning minyan. It's our more regular festival morning Shabbat type of experience. We will be here for the second day. Service is just a tad shorter when it's not Shabbat, but we'll add Hallel and we'll be here to celebrate Passover together. So tomorrow morning at 9:15, would love to have the help to make a minyan on second day Yontiv. Especially for those who are still saying Kaddish, they would appreciate having a minyan for that as well. So for that, we are going to conclude, but I need your help with an Adon Olam. Let me think about this for a second. I think you got it? Awesome. I assume it's a Passover one. Excellent. I think I know what you're going to do, so I'd love for you to lead, and then I will join you. And then we'll just head right back into the rotunda for a little Kiddush and Motzi for the festival and for Shabbat. 2:11 as Jeff leads us.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nibrad Le'ed Nasa V'Chefso Kol Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nibrad Le'ed Nasa V'Chefso Kol Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Yachare Kichlot HaKol Le'Bahado Yimlok L'Ra V'Hu Haya V'Hu Obed V'Hu Yiyeh B'Tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'ed Nasa V'Chefso Kol Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra Yehu echad b'yishidi lehamshila lehachpira beli reshit beli tachlit belo ha'oz v'hamisra Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nihikra Yehu eli v'chaygoli v'tzorchem li v'yitzara v'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi v'yom ekra Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nihikra V'yado afkin ruchi v'yeti sham v'ya'ira v'yimruchi G'viyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra
Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbos.
Mr. Koach, we'll head into the rotunda.
Where's your Spider-Man? Where's your Spider-Man? Don't play.
All right, let's go. Okay, can I help you carry something? Okay.
All right.
Off we
Go.
go.
Let me make sure I got my correct page. Yes, your Koach, Jeff. That was awesome.
I thought I would be able to find the readings, and I will not be able to find them without help. 28, 26. Today's the 15th, right? Okay, go then. I'm stealing information. Let's see. It's the 16th? 16th, so it would be 23rd. Where can I find the readings? Megillah. Numbers. Aliyah. Really? It's in Re? Deuteronomy? Oh. Okay.
She's going to meet us at the house, and then we will have lunch. Did Lindy give you a time? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going over around 4, but.
Okay.
Eh?